Before we can understand consciousness or even ourselves, we have to ask one question. How do human beings become aware of who they truly are?
And one philosopher wrestled with this more than almost anyone, Hegel. He believed that self-awareness isn't something we simply have. It's something we become through struggle, history, and reflection.
Right. For Hegel, consciousness isn't a thing. It's a journey, a movement from raw potential into something fully realized.
And that simple shift from potential to reality turns out to be one of the most powerful ideas in the history of thought.
So before we dive into the evolution of consciousness, let's begin with the idea that shaped so much of modern thought, the idea of how we become ourselves.
Okay, so for someone who's never even, cracked open Hegel, what's the big takeaway? What was he all about?
Well, I think, simplifying it as much as possible, Hegel was obsessed with how we come to know things. Like, he didn't think that there was some hidden truth just waiting out there to be discovered, but instead, he was really fascinated by the journey of understanding itself.
The process.
The process, yeah. And for him, true knowledge was less about the what and more about the how, the process of learning and evolving. And he believed that process of coming to understand things is very much shaped by history and by our collected experience.
Okay. So, how does this idea of the process of knowledge, how does that tie into his idea of Geist? Because I know that's another big concept for him, and it sounds kind of mystical, when you hear it.
Yeah, Geist is often translated as spirit, but I think it's helpful to think of it more like the collective consciousness of humanity. The evolving spirit of the times. Hegel saw Geist as constantly changing and shifting throughout history. It's kind of like we're all part of this giant unfolding story.
So instead of focusing on individual moments of understanding, he was looking at the bigger picture of how humanity's understanding has evolved over time.
Exactly. And he believed that in the present moment, we have this unique opportunity to grasp our own self-awareness, our place in this grand narrative in a way that wasn't possible for the people who came before us.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get it. So we've got this big idea of Geist, this evolving spirit of the times.
Yeah, that's driving everything.
It's driving everything, okay? Now, let's break down some of the key Hegelian concepts that might be helpful for our listeners to understand. You mentioned in itself versus for itself earlier. What does that even mean?
Great question. Think of it like this. Imagine a seed. That seed has everything it needs to become a tree, right? That's its in itself state.
Okay.
It has potential, but hasn't realized it yet. But it only becomes a tree for itself when it actually grows, interacts with the world, and fulfills that potential.
So in itself is raw potential, and for itself is when that potential is actualized.
Exactly. And this doesn't just apply to trees, it applies to people, ideas, and even historical movements.
Give me an example with people.
Sure. Imagine someone who has a natural talent for music. That talent is there in itself state. It exists, but if they never practice, never perform, never develop it, it stays hidden.
Right.
But if they put in the work, refine their skills, and actually become a musician, they've moved into their for itself state. They realize their potential through action.
So this is basically a framework for growth, from potential to reality?
Yes. And Hegel thought that this isn't just a personal thing. Societies and even humanity itself are constantly on this journey from in itself to for itself, striving to become aware of what they could be.
Okay, I can see that. And that ties into history, right? Like movements that start as in itself and then become for itself when people recognize their power?
Exactly. Take the civil rights movement. Before it became an organized force, African Americans already had the right to equality in principle, but not in practice. They were an oppressed group in itself. It was only through struggle, activism, and collective awareness that they became a movement for itself, demanding recognition.
Wow, that's powerful.
It is. And this connects to another big Hegelian idea, the master-slave dialectic.
That sounds intense.
It is. But it's also fascinating. Hegel argued that power isn't just about one side controlling the other, it's about recognition. The master needs the slave to confirm their authority. But here's the twist. Through their labor, the slave is actually shaping the world, becoming more self-aware, and ultimately the one driving historical change.
So the master thinks they're in control, but the slave is actually the one gaining deeper self-understanding through struggle?
Bingo! And we can still see versions of this today. Think about workers and employers. A company relies on workers to function, but workers, through collective action, can change the system. Or think about consumers and corporations. Our attention and spending shape markets, even though corporations act like they're in control.
So Hegel is basically telling us to look at power structures critically, because the roles we play aren't always what they seem.
Yes. And that's why in itself versus for itself is such a big deal. It's not just about individual growth, but about how people, societies, and history evolve.
Okay, I love this. We started with a seed, and now we're talking about the structure of history.
That's Hegel for you.